नमस्ते। खूब लड़ी मर्दानी वह तो झांसी वाली रानी थी. We have read about these lines in many of our books. In our history books, we have read that the first war which the Indians started to get their freedom was the revolt of 1857. But our history books have not told us something that happened 77 years before. Well, today's presentation is to highlight the life of a queen who rebelled against the Britishers 77 years before the first revolt of 1857. She is none other than Veeramangai Velu Nachiyar. She was one of the queens in the 18th century in South India, the brave Indian woman who cowed down the Britishers. 77 years before the revolt of 1857 in the year 1780. Velu Nachiyar was born in 1730 AD to Mannar or the king Chellamuttu Vijay Raghunatha Setupati and to Rani Sakandi Muttal of Ramnath kingdom. She was the only daughter of this royal family, but her parents trained her like a male warrior in many methods of warfare. So this included sword fighting, archery, martial arts like Valari, Silambam, and also horse riding. Apart from this, she was a scholar and she was proficient in languages like French, English, and Urdu in addition to Tamil. Velu Nachar was married to Sivagangai Mannar, Muttu Vaduganatha Periya Udaya. They were at the age of 16. A daughter was born to them out of the wedlock, whom they named as Valachi Nachar. It was in the year 1772 that the English invaded her kingdom as they had become an ally to the Nawab of Arcot. The Nawab of Arcot wanted the Shivagangai and Ramnath kings to pay tribute to him and also wanted taxes by them. But the Ramnath and Shivagangai kings refused to pay tribute and pay taxes demanded by the Nawab of Arcot. We know the divide and rule policy of the Britishers, which they adopted. They supported the Nawab. One fine evening, when Velu Nachar's husband Mannar Muthu Vaduganathar happened to visit the Kalyar Kovil to pay worship to Lord Shiva, the British attacked the temple. It was Colonel Smith who attacked the temple on one hand, and simultaneously at the other hand, Lieutenant Colonel Abraham Bonsworth invaded the fort. Muthu Vaduganatha Vilunacha's husband and the king was not prepared, and he was killed in this treacherous act. At that moment, Velu Nachar was at Kolangudi. She was shocked, but she had to think of the next step. She did not succumb. She did not sit and cry, but she escaped with her daughter to Virupachi near Dindigul. It was the Marudu brothers who worked as aides to the king, a husband who accompanied her and gave protection to her. Velu Nachar was forced to live in exile for 8 long years, but only to come back stronger to take revenge and make history as the very first Indian queen to defeat the British. How did she do that? At Virupachi, she lived under the protection of Gopala Naikar. She worked on building an army of her own, and she joined hands with Gopala Naikar to wage war against the British and regained her kingdom. It was in the year 1780 that she came face to face with the British, and with this she became the first queen in India to fight for freedom against the British. What are the things she followed? What are the tactics she employed to defeat the Britishers? First, she built up a special army, the first ever women army. These women were well trained and known for their bravery and patriotism. And she kept on confusing the Britishers by frequently changing her base. She is also credited as the first person to apply the human bomb. Well, who was this human bomb? Among her aides, one was Queely, who had already gained a place in the Queen's heart by protecting the Queen on many occasions, even at the cost of her life. Later, Queely was appointed as the commander in chief of the Queen's army by Velu Nachiyar. Velu Nachiyar came to know about the ammunition store of the British. With this information that the Britishers stored their ammunition, their arms, and all the things which were required for the war in a temple, the gallant queen, known by Tamils as Veeramangai, the brave woman, plotted and arranged a suicide attack into the ammunition store. It was Queely who came forward, smeared herself with ghee, lit herself, and plunged into the ammunition store to destroy whatever weapons they had. Nachar also had an adopted daughter, Udayal, who gave her life detonating a British arsenal. Stories go that Udayal was a shepherd girl who tended to her goats. Once, when she was grazing her goats in a forest, Velu Nachar happened to cross that place and she asked for water. And the girl came to know that Velu Nachar was at risk. The Britishers were following her. When Velu Nachar left, the Britishers came to that spot and they questioned Udayal about the whereabouts of Velu Nachar. But Udayal did not respond to them, even when her arms were cut. Later she replied that even if they kill her, she is not going to respond, and they chopped her head. The queen built up a women's army and named it Udayal after her adopted daughter. Nachiyar was one of the few rulers who regained her kingdom and ruled it for 10 more years. In 1790, the throne was inherited by her daughter Velachi Nachiyar. Velu Nachiyar, the valiant queen, breathed her last on December 25, 1796, at the age of 66 years in Sivagangai, Tamil Nadu. Not much is spoken about Veeramangai Velu Nachiyar, the brave woman. Nothing has been written in our history books about the revolt which happened 77 years before the first revolt of 1857. Let us learn from the valor of Velu Nachiyar. Let us learn from the bravery of Velu Nachiyar. Let us learn from the wisdom of Velu Nachiyar, and let the historians revive the history books so that the generations to come, the generations of Indians, are aware about Velu Nachiyar and that such a woman of bravery existed during the pre-independence India, and it was much before the revolt of 1857. Long hail the memories of Velu Nachiyar. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.